Eric lived on a distant colony world where days seemed to stretch forever and nights felt even longer. The world was beautiful in its own quiet way. The sky changed colors every evening, and sometimes Eric stood by his small window to watch shades of pink, orange, and purple move over the land. But for Eric, beauty could not hide the deep sense of loneliness that he carried every day. On this far-off colony, people often lived alone, working jobs that kept them busy but rarely brought them close to anyone. Friendships were rare, and real relationships were even more difficult to find. Eric worked as an engineer at a power station on the edge of the colony. Most of his days were spent checking the machines, fixing broken parts, and making sure the lights in the homes and the farms stayed on. He was good at his job and people respected him for it, but his world felt small. He talked to his coworkers, but most conversations stayed about work. When the day ended, Eric walked back to his little house, made a simple meal, and watched. The empty silence filled the rooms around him. Over time, the loneliness grew heavy. Eric started thinking about finding someone to share his days with. On the colony, it was common for people to buy companions. This was not like buying a robot or a pet. Alien companions came from other worlds, and each had their own thoughts, feelings, and dreams. Some people thought it was strange, but on worlds like this, people found comfort in the idea of a friend, someone who could understand and be close to them. Eric saved money for years. Every time he wanted to spend extra credits on something fun, he stopped himself. He thought about the kind of life he wanted, a life with laughter, stories, and maybe even love. One day, he realized he had enough. Eric looked at the companion agency, reading about different alien companions from across the galaxy. There were many choices, but Eric wanted someone gentle, someone who could help him feel less alone and maybe even teach him new things. At the agency, a friendly worker listened to what Eric wanted. They talked about many different companions, showing Eric images and sharing stories about each one. Finally, the worker suggested a companion named Lyra. She was from a planet called Celera, and her skin was a pale blue color, almost like the morning sky. The worker said Lyra was kind, calm, and very intelligent. She liked to learn, and she was always gentle with people. Eric was surprised when he saw her picture. Lyra looked different from any human, but her eyes were soft and her smile felt warm. Eric agreed to the match, feeling a mix of excitement and fear. Eric spent the next week preparing his house. He cleaned every room, bought new clothes for Lyra, and filled the kitchen with foods from her home planet, just in case she missed them. He set up a small space near the window with soft blankets and pillows, hoping it would make her feel comfortable. Even though Eric was nervous, he wanted Lyra to feel welcome and safe. The day finally arrived. Eric stood outside his door, waiting for the agency transport to bring Lyra. His heart beat fast in his chest, and his hands felt cold. What if she did not like it here? What if she felt like a prisoner instead of a companion? Eric did not want anyone to feel unhappy in his home. He promised himself that he would be kind and fair. No matter what happened, a small shuttle landed on the road outside Eric's house. The agency worker stepped out first, followed by Lyra. She was taller than Eric expected, with long pale blue hair that fell around her shoulders. Her eyes were large and bright, the color of the sea on a clear day. Lyra carried a small bag, and she looked around the colony with curiosity. The agency worker introduced Eric and Lyra to each other. Eric tried to smile, even though he felt shy. Lyra looked at him and smiled back, her expression calm and open. The worker explained a few things about Lyra's needs and how to help her adjust. Then, after a few kind words, the worker left, and Eric and Lyra were alone together. Eric showed Lyra around the house. He pointed out the kitchen, the small living room, and her new room near the window. Lyra listened quietly, asking a few soft questions. She touched the curtains, looked at the plants in the window, and smiled at the pile of blankets Eric had prepared. Eric explained that she was free to make the space her own, and that if she needed anything, she only had to ask. At first, Eric tried to keep a little distance. He did not want Lyra to feel uncomfortable, so he gave her space and time to settle. He cooked dinner for them, trying to make a mix of human and Celeran food. To his surprise, Lyra enjoyed everything. She ate slowly, tasting each bite, and thanked Eric with a quiet voice. After dinner, Eric offered Lyra some books about human history and a tablet with music and movies. Lyra's eyes lit up as she explored these new things. She seemed excited to learn, and she asked many questions about Earth and the other planets in the colony. Eric answered the best he could, happy to see her interested and not upset. When it grew late, Eric said goodnight and went to his own room. He could hear Lyra softly singing to herself in her language as she arranged her things. Eric lay in bed, thinking about how different this first day had been from what he expected. Lyra had not shown any sadness or fear. She seemed calm, even happy. Eric wondered if she was just pretending. Maybe she was afraid to show her true feelings. The next morning, Eric woke up early and found Lyra in the kitchen. She was already awake, making tea from the leaves she brought with her. She smiled at Eric and offered him a cup. Her voice was soft, and she thanked him for the home and the care. Eric felt a little more at ease. They talked about their plans for the day, and Eric invited Lyra to see the garden behind the house. The air was fresh, and birds flew between the trees in the garden. Lyra knelt by the flowers and touched the soil. She asked Eric about the plants, and he explained how he tried to grow vegetables and herbs to save money. Lyra smiled, saying she liked the smell of the earth and the way the light looked through the leaves. Eric watched her carefully, still unsure about how she truly felt. As the sun rose higher, Eric took Lyra to the town's small market. People looked at them with curiosity, some smiling and others just staring. It was not common to see a human and an alien together in the colony, but Eric tried not to notice. Lyra stayed close to him, watching everything with wide eyes. She pointed out new fruits and listened to the songs played by the market vendors. Eric bought some treats and handed one to Lyra. She thanked him again and tasted it, her face lighting up with delight. For a moment, Eric felt like he was seeing his world through new eyes. Everything seemed more interesting when he shared it with Lyra. At home, Lyra offered to help Eric with chores. She washed the dishes, swept the floor, and even fixed a broken chair. Eric was surprised by her skills and her willingness to work. He thanked her, and Lyra just smiled, saying she liked helping. She told Eric that back on her home planet, everyone worked together, and she enjoyed being useful. That night, as Eric sat alone in the living room, he wondered again if Lyra was really happy. He did not know her well yet, but she seemed content. Eric decided he would ask her soon, hoping she would tell him the truth. For now he felt a quiet hope growing inside him. Maybe, just maybe, life on the lonely colony was about to change in ways he never expected. The next morning, Eric woke up to the gentle sound of singing. He walked to the kitchen and saw Lyra standing by the window, humming a soft tune in her language while making tea. The sun was just coming up, filling the room with a warm golden light. Lyra turned and greeted Eric with a smile, offering him a cup of the special tea she liked from her home planet. Eric took the cup and thanked her. He was surprised by how calm and peaceful the house felt now. Even the silence was comfortable. With Lyra around, they ate breakfast together, talking about their plans for the day. Eric asked Lyra if she wanted to come with him to the power station. He needed to check some machines and fix a few problems. Lyra said yes right away. She told Eric she wanted to see where he worked and learn more about what he did. Eric was happy that Lyra wanted to spend time with him, and he felt less nervous than before. They walked to the station, taking a path through the fields behind Eric's house. The grass was wet with morning dew, and small animals jumped through the tall plants. Lyra pointed out some tiny flowers she had never seen before. Eric showed her how the colony grew most of its food nearby, using the rich soil and the machines to keep everything growing strong. Lyra listened carefully, asking questions about the plants and the way the machines worked. When they arrived at the power station, Eric introduced Lyra to his co-worker, Daniel. Daniel was surprised to see an alien companion, but tried to be polite. He shook Lyra's hand and asked her a few questions about her life. Lyra answered with patience and a gentle smile, talking a little about her homeworld, Lyra. Daniel looked impressed by how much Lyra knew about different kinds of technology. Eric felt proud and happy that Lyra was making a good impression inside the station. Eric showed Lyra the big machines that kept the lights on in the colony. Lyra was curious about everything. She asked Eric to explain how the engines worked and why the control panels had so many lights and switches. Eric did his best to explain in simple words. Lyra listened closely, sometimes repeating his words to make sure she understood. When Eric needed to fix a small motor, Lyra watched and offered to hand him tools. She seemed to enjoy helping, and Eric liked working with her. After a busy morning, they sat outside the station to eat lunch. Lyra took out some fruit from her bag, sharing it with Eric. She told him stories about her old life. On Solera, everyone worked together, but things were often hard. The weather on her planet was cold and windy, and sometimes there was not enough food. Lyra said that, for her, coming to the colony was a chance for a new start. She liked the gentle weather and the way people smiled at each other, even if they were sometimes shy. Eric listened carefully, realizing that Lyra had seen many difficult days. He felt lucky that she was willing to share her life with him. He also wondered if maybe her calmness and quiet happiness came from surviving hard times. Lyra asked Eric about Earth and what it was like there. Eric told her about green forests, blue oceans, and busy cities. He described the food, the music, and the many different people who lived there. Lyra looked amazed and asked if Eric ever missed it. Eric said sometimes he did, but the colony was his home now, and he was glad to share it with her. They walked home together, stopping at the market to buy some fresh vegetables. Lyra picked out strange purple roots she said tasted sweet when cooked. The market sellers stared a little, but Lyra just smiled and thanked them. Eric felt proud walking beside her. He noticed how Lyra always treated people with kindness, even if they did not always understand her. He realized that he was learning from her every day. That evening, Eric and Lyra cooked dinner together. Lyra showed Eric how to make a dish from her world using the purple roots, some herbs from the garden, and spices Eric had never tried before. The kitchen filled with new smells, and Eric found himself laughing at Lyra's jokes. After dinner, they sat outside under the stars. Lyra looked up at the sky, telling Eric the names of the brightest stars in her language. She said the stars looked different from Solera, but she liked how peaceful the nights were here. Eric thought about how quickly life had changed. Just a few days ago, his house was quiet and lonely. Now every day felt new and full of surprises. He watched Lyra as she told stories about her people and sang soft songs. Eric realized he was beginning to feel real happiness again, and it surprised him. The next day, Eric wanted to introduce Lyra to his friends. He invited two of his closest friends, Megan and Steve, over for lunch. Eric felt nervous, not sure how they would react. Megan was friendly and open, but Steve could be serious and sometimes cautious about new things. When they arrived, Lyra greeted them politely, bowing her head in her custom. Megan smiled and asked Lyra about her hair and the blue color of her skin. Steve just watched and listened at first, not saying much. During lunch, Lyra answered all of Megan's questions. She talked about her favorite foods, the cold weather on Solera, and the different ways her people celebrated holidays. Steve finally spoke up, asking Lyra if she was happy here. The question was quiet, but everyone heard it. Lyra looked at Steve, then at Eric, and said she was truly content. She explained that Eric was kind to her and always asked what she wanted. She said she liked the peaceful days and felt safe in the house. Megan smiled and nodded, saying she could see that Lyra was happy. Steve just nodded, still thinking. After the meal, Megan offered to show Lyra some of the colony's gardens. Lyra agreed, and the two women walked off together, laughing and sharing stories. Eric and Steve sat in the kitchen. Steve said he was surprised by how calm and happy Lyra seemed. Eric said he was still trying to understand it himself, but every day he felt more certain that Lyra was not pretending. Steve said he hoped Eric was right and wished him luck. Lyra and Megan returned from the gardens with fresh flowers. Lyra arranged them in a vase on the kitchen table. She thanked Megan and Steve for visiting, saying it was nice to meet Eric's friends. As the sun set, everyone sat together, talking and laughing. Eric felt grateful for this new feeling of family and friendship in his home. That night, Eric asked Lyra if she missed her old life. Lyra said she missed some things, like the songs of her people and the icy wind on her face. But she said she was truly content here. She liked having a safe home, new friends, and time to explore. Lyra told Eric that she hoped they could always be friends, no matter what happened. Eric promised that she would always have a place in his home and in his life. As the days passed, Eric and Lyra built new routines together. They worked in the garden, cooked new meals, and sometimes just sat quietly, reading or listening to music. Eric began to realize that happiness could grow from the smallest things: a kind word, a shared meal, a walk under the stars. He understood that both he and Lyra had found something special, and he hoped it would last. Eric and Lyra continued to find comfort in their simple life on the colony. Days passed, and each morning started with Lyra's soft singing and the smell of tea in the kitchen. Eric enjoyed these small moments, and he looked forward to spending time with her, even if they were just doing simple chores or working in the garden. The quiet happiness in the house grew stronger every day. One afternoon, Eric decided to show Lyra some of his favorite places around the colony. He wanted her to feel that she belonged, not just to his home, but to the community too. They took a slow walk along the path that led to the river, which flowed through the middle of the colony. The air was cool, and the sound of the water made Lyra smile. She walked carefully, taking in every detail of the plants and small creatures along the riverbank. Eric talked about his childhood and how he used to come here to fish with his father. Lyra listened closely, asking questions about life on Earth and what Eric missed about his old home. They sat by the river and watched as small fish jumped out of the water. Lyra laughed at the way they sparkled in the sunlight. She shared stories about the lakes on her planet and how, as a child, she and her friends would watch the ice melt in the spring, signaling the start of a new season. Eric realized that even though their worlds were different, there were small things that were the same. He felt a deep connection with Lyra as she told her story. After their walk, they stopped at the town square, where a group of colonists were setting up for the weekly market. Eric introduced Lyra to some of the neighbors. At first, people seemed shy and curious. They asked gentle questions, wondering if Lyra liked life in the colony. Lyra smiled and answered honestly. She said she enjoyed learning new things and meeting new people. One older woman offered Lyra a handmade scarf as a gift. Lyra thanked her, wrapping the scarf around her shoulders with joy. Eric noticed how Lyra's gentle nature slowly made people feel comfortable around her. Later, Eric's friend Megan stopped by to say hello. She invited Eric and Lyra to join her and some friends for dinner that weekend. Lyra was excited to be included. As they left the market, Eric saw the way Lyra's presence changed how others acted. People who once seemed distant now smiled and waved. Eric felt proud of Lyra and how she was making a place for herself in the colony. That evening, as they cooked dinner together, Lyra talked about her life before coming to the colony. She told Eric about her family, about the long, cold winters, and the stories they would tell each other to pass the time. She said that on her planet, everyone had to work together to survive. Lyra explained that she was truly content here because she finally felt safe and had the freedom to choose her own path. Eric listened and understood. He realized that he was learning more from Lyra every day than he ever expected. Eric noticed how Lyra enjoyed the small things. She loved caring for the plants in the garden and watching the birds outside their window. She spent time reading books and drawing pictures of the stars at night. Sometimes she wrote letters in her language, telling Eric they were for her family back home. Lyra said it helped her feel close to her old life, but she was also building a new one with Eric. One day, Megan visited with her brother Sam, who worked at the colony school. Sam was curious about Lyra and asked if she would be willing to talk to the children about her planet. Lyra was nervous at first, but Eric encouraged her. He told her that the children would love to hear her stories and see someone from another world. Lyra agreed, and a few days later, she went to the school. The children were excited to meet Lyra. They asked her many questions, some of them silly and some very serious. Lyra smiled and answered all of them with kindness. She told them about the cold wind on her planet, the bright blue ice, and the funny animals that lived there. She taught the children a simple song in her language. They clapped along and laughed, making Lyra feel welcome and important. After her visit, the teachers thanked Lyra for sharing her time. The children drew pictures of Lyra and gave them to her as gifts. Lyra felt proud, and Eric was happy to see her smile. He knew that she was finding a place in the community and that she was truly content with her new life. As the days went by, Eric and Lyra became even closer. They spent their evenings talking about the future. Lyra asked Eric if he wanted to travel to other colonies one day. Eric said maybe, but for now, he was happy right where they were. Lyra said she felt the same. She wanted to grow more flowers in the garden and maybe help other people in the colony feel less lonely, just like Eric helped her. One night, Eric invited Lyra to a small party in the town square. People gathered to celebrate the colony's founding day. There was music, dancing, and food from many different worlds. Lyra wore her new scarf and danced with Eric in the open space under the stars. The music was lively and Lyra laughed more than Eric had ever seen. People cheered and clapped, happy to see the two of them together. After the party, Eric and Lyra walked home slowly. Lyra talked about how happy she was to be part of the colony. She thanked Eric for showing her kindness and helping her feel welcome. Eric said he was grateful for her friendship and the happiness she brought into his life. Lyra looked up at the sky and pointed out her home star. She said that even though she missed her family, she had found a new family with Eric. As the weeks passed, Eric and Lyra's friendship grew stronger. They became known in the colony as a pair who always helped others and shared their happiness. People began to visit their house more often, bringing small gifts or asking for advice. Eric and Lyra never turned anyone away. They believed that the more kindness they shared, the better life became for everyone around them. Eric sometimes wondered if Lyra missed her old life or if she ever felt regret about coming to the colony. When he asked her, Lyra always smiled and said that she had no regrets. She told Eric that she felt free here, able to choose what she did and who she spent her time with. Lyra said that this freedom was worth more than anything she left behind. Eric believed her, and he felt a deep sense of peace knowing they were both happy. Their days fell into a gentle rhythm, with work, laughter, and time spent in the garden or under the stars. Eric and Lyra shared stories about their lives, learning from each other and growing together. The loneliness that once filled Eric's house was gone, replaced by warmth and the hope of new beginnings. In the quiet moments, Eric knew that he had made the right choice. Lyra was truly content, and so was he. Lyra felt happier with each passing day on the colony. Her life with Eric was simple, but it was full of small joys. Every morning, she made tea and watched the light change outside the window. She liked how the sun warmed the room and how Eric always thanked her for even the smallest things. Lyra felt respected and safe in this new home. She found herself humming old songs and dreaming up new plans for the garden. Eric noticed the change in Lyra. He saw how she grew more confident and open with the people in the colony. He wanted her to know she belonged, so he encouraged her to share more about her own culture. One afternoon, Eric asked Lyra if she could teach him about Lyra's ways. Lyra smiled and agreed. She showed Eric how to make small figures out of clay, a tradition from her planet. Together they shaped animals and people, laughing when their figures fell over. Eric learned to sing a song in Lyra's language, and Lyra taught him the meaning of the words. She was happy to share these memories, and Eric was eager to learn. Word of Eric and Lyra's friendship spread around the colony. Some people were curious, wanting to know if Lyra was really content. Others gossiped, saying it was strange for a human and an alien to be so close. But there were also those who admired the kindness between Eric and Lyra. Megan and her brother Sam often visited, and soon other neighbors joined them for dinners or for help with small problems. Lyra enjoyed helping others. She showed the children how to make simple art from plants, and she taught a few neighbors how to care for new flowers in their gardens. Lyra's garden behind the house grew bigger and brighter. She and Eric planted new seeds both from Earth and Celera. Eric saw that the garden made people smile. Soon, others in the colony asked Lyra to help them start their own gardens. Lyra felt proud. She liked knowing her work brought beauty and hope to her new home. Eric helped with the heavy work, and together they made the backyards of the colony bloom. Some evenings, Lyra and Eric sat outside and watched the stars. Lyra shared stories about constellations from her planet. She taught Eric how to spot her home star, and together they made up new stories about the night sky. Eric shared stories from his childhood, and Lyra listened carefully. Each story helped them understand each other more, but not everyone in the colony understood their friendship. One afternoon, a group of colonists gathered near Eric's house. They asked why he spent so much time with an alien. Some of them wondered if Lyra was really happy or if she was pretending. Eric listened to their questions and tried to explain. He told them that Lyra was his friend and that she chose to be here. Lyra stepped forward and spoke gently. She said she was content and grateful for her new life. She thanked the colonists for their concern but asked them to trust her words. The crowd grew quiet, and a few people nodded, but others walked away, still unsure. Eric felt worried after the meeting. He did not want Lyra to feel unwelcome. Lyra reassured him, saying she knew some people needed time to accept new ideas. She said that every world had its worries, but she believed most people would learn to see her as a friend. Eric agreed, and together they promised to keep helping their neighbors and sharing kindness whenever they could. Megan suggested starting a bigger garden for the whole colony, a place where everyone could work and relax together. Lyra loved the idea. She and Eric met with other colonists, planning where to build the new garden. Some brought seeds and tools. Others shared old stories about farming on other worlds. Lyra led the group, showing how to plant and care for each type of flower and vegetable. Eric was proud of how Lyra took charge. Her soft voice and careful hands made people listen and trust her. As the community garden grew, so did friendships between humans and aliens. Lyra was happy to see people laughing and sharing work. She felt like a bridge between two worlds, helping people find hope in new beginnings. Even those who were unsure at first slowly started to join. They saw that Lyra only wanted to help, and they respected her for her hard work and kindness. One day, while working in the garden, a small argument broke out between two colonists about who would get the best spot for planting. Lyra stepped in calmly and listened to both sides. She reminded them that the garden was for everyone. With patience, she helped them agree on a fair plan. Eric watched, amazed by how easily Lyra solved problems. She had a gentle way of making people feel heard. Later that week, the colony celebrated the opening of the new garden. People brought food and music, and there was laughter all around. Lyra made a short speech, thanking everyone for working together. She told them how important it was to share kindness and to listen to each other, even when things felt strange or new. The crowd cheered for her, and Eric felt proud to be her friend. At home, Lyra thanked Eric for believing in her. Eric said he could not imagine his life without her friendship. He admitted he had once worried about what others would think, but now he only cared about the life they built together. Lyra smiled, saying she never felt so free to be herself, their days filled with more visits from neighbors and more work in the garden. Eric and Lyra listened to people's troubles and shared what they learned from each other. Some colonists, who once kept their distance, now came by to share stories and ask for advice. Lyra always welcomed them, offering tea and a kind word. Eric saw how her quiet strength made the colony a better place. One evening, Eric and Lyra sat by the window, tired but happy. The garden glowed in the soft light, and music from the colony square drifted through the air. Lyra said she hoped other colonies would learn to welcome newcomers and build friendships across worlds. Eric agreed, saying that real happiness was found in sharing life with others, no matter where they came from. Lyra squeezed his hand, feeling hope for the future. One sunny morning, Eric and Lyra went to check on the community garden they helped start. The flowers and vegetables were growing strong. Neighbors came by to water the plants and pull weeds. Eric felt proud to see how the garden had become a place where humans and aliens work side by side. As Eric watered the tomato plants, Lyra spoke to a group of children, teaching them how to plant seeds. The children laughed and followed her gentle instructions. Lyra smiled, her pale blue hair shining in the sun. Suddenly, a tense voice broke the peace. A small group of colonists stood at the garden's edge. They looked angry. Their leader, a tall man named Walter, stepped forward. He pointed at Lyra and said, "This is wrong. You are using that alien to make us look good. She is not happy here. You are forcing her to work." Eric dropped his watering can and stepped in front of Lyra. His face felt hot. "Walter," Eric said calmly, "Lyra is free. She chose to be here and help. She is not forced," Walter scoffed. "I don't believe it. She smiles because she has no choice. She is a companion. She is property." He turned to others. "We should send her back. Take her away." A few colonists backed Walter's words. Lyra felt a lump in her throat. The children stopped planting and stared. Eric felt anger and fear rise inside him. He did not want to fight, but he could not let anyone say lies about Lyra. Lyra stepped forward. Her voice was quiet but clear. "I am not property," she said. "I am a free being. I came here because I wanted to. I stay because I choose to. Eric treats me with kindness and respect. I help in the garden because I want to help." Walter laughed. "You are saying that so you won't get in trouble?" Lyra took a deep breath. She looked at the faces around her, some curious, some angry. She reached out and touched a flower. "Feel this petal," she said. Walter and the others came closer. They touched the soft petal. Lyra continued, "This life is gentle. I feel safe here. I see friends every day. I wake without fear. I sing softly in the mornings because my heart is light." Eric watched as the crowd grew silent. Some looked ashamed. A woman named Carla said softly, "I did not know. I thought you were just a companion." Lyra smiled kindly. "Companions can be more than labels. We are people with feelings. Look at the garden. We built it together. Look at the children. We taught them kindness." Walter crossed his arms. "We need proof." "How do we know it is not just talk?" Eric spoke up. "Talk is enough. You heard her speak. You saw how the children responded. Ask them what they think." He pointed to the children, who held small seed packets. A young girl named Mia raised her hand. "Miss Lyra teaches me to care for plants. She is kind. She smiles when I learn." The children nodded, speaking about how Lyra showed them how to sing her song and plant seeds. The colonists listened. Walter glared but said nothing. A few neighbors stepped forward. Megan said, "I see Lyra working to help people. She invited me to her home. She listened when I was sad. She is happy here." Sam added, "I asked Lyra to speak at the school." The children loved her stories. One by one, more people spoke. They told stories of Lyra's kindness and honesty. Lyra stood quietly, letting Eric and her new friends speak for her. Finally, the crowd's anger melted. Walter's group looked surprised. Some walked away, shaking their heads. Walter stayed silent, then left without a word. Eric knelt beside Lyra. "You were brave," he said softly. Lyra smiled and took his hand. "I had to speak. I belong here." The following day, the colony held a small celebration in the garden. People came with food and music. Lyra taught a simple dance from her planet. Eric danced with her among the blooming flowers. Neighbors clapped and joined in. The garden felt like a true community. The success of this event changed many hearts. More colonists asked Lyra for help with their own gardens. Some asked to meet her in her home to learn more about her culture. Eric and Lyra organized small events every week, sharing songs, stories, and food from Solera and Earth. One evening, Eric and Lyra sat by the window of their home, looking at the garden lights. Lyra said softly, "I never thought I could help." "So many people," Eric wrapped his arm around her. "You have a gift? You brought us together?" Lyra leaned her head on Eric's shoulder. "I am happy because I found friendship and acceptance." Eric smiled and kissed her forehead. "And, you will always be welcome. I promise." Days passed and the garden grew even more vibrant. flowers of many colors mixed with vegetables and herbs. Eric and Lyra's example inspired other colonists to reach out and include new companions, whether alien or human. The colony became a place of healing and learning. Lyra's heart felt light as she watched her friends work the garden. She remembered the cold winds of Celera and realized that this planet, with its warm sun and open hearts, was now her true home. She felt content, in a way she never imagined possible, and she knew her choice to stay had built something beautiful for everyone. Part 6. Spring arrived on the colony, and the days grew warmer. Eric and Lyra woke each morning to birds singing outside their window. The garden was in full bloom, with bright flowers and plump vegetables. Eric felt a deep joy as he stepped outside with Lyra each day. Their home had become a place of life and laughter, and the lonely days seemed like a distant memory. One morning, Eric received a message from the companion agency. They asked him to confirm if Lyra still wished to stay on the colony. Eric showed the message to Lyra, and she smiled. She said she had never felt more at home and wanted to stay forever. Eric replied to the agency, confirming Lyra's choice. He felt proud to give her that freedom. That afternoon, the Colony Council invited Eric and Lyra to speak about their experiences. The council included leaders from different sectors: farming, education, and security. Eric and Lyra entered the meeting room nervously but held hands to support each other. The council leader, a woman named Iris, asked them to share what they had learned. Eric spoke first. "We learned that kindness has no borders. When we treat each other with respect, we all grow stronger." Lyra added, "On my planet, we learned kindness from our families. Here, I learned it again from Eric and everyone in the colony. I feel content because I choose to be part of this community." A council member asked, "How can we help other companions, human or alien, feel the same?" Lyra thought and said, "Listen to them. Teach them new skills. Include them in your homes and stories." Eric nodded. "Friendship and understanding. Help us all feel safe." The council took notes and agreed to start new programs. They would pair new companions with volunteers for learning and friendship. Eric and Lyra felt proud to see their idea take shape. After the meeting, the council members congratulated Lyra and Eric. They said the colony would be better because of their work. Lyra's heart swelled with happiness. She looked at Eric and he smiled back. That evening, Eric and Lyra prepared dinner for the council. They cooked dishes from both Earth and Celera. The house filled with the smell of spices and fresh herbs. When the council members arrived, they were amazed by the feast. They ate together, sharing stories and laughter. The meal ended with applause and promises of future collaborations. As summer approached, the garden held a harvest festival. Colonists brought fresh produce to share. Eric and Lyra set up a booth with Celeron fruits and baked goods. Lyra showed people how to taste the strange blue fruit from her planet. Eric mixed it with sweet earth honey. Everyone loved the new flavors. Children danced around the festival, singing the simple song Lyra taught them. Parents watched, smiling as the children learned songs in a new language. Eric felt a warm pride seeing Lyra's culture blend with theirs. During the festival, Eric's coworker Daniel came by. He told Eric that the power station held tours for new colonists and that Lyra should join as a guest guide. Eric and Lyra agreed. They organized a small crew and led the tour together. Lyra explained the station's machines in her clear, calm voice. Eric added technical details. The new colonists listened, fascinated. Afterward, many said they felt hopeful about life on the colony. Late one night, Eric and Lyra sat outside their home under the warm summer sky. Fireflies danced in the air. Lyra leaned on Eric's shoulder. "I never knew life could be so full," she whispered. Eric kissed her forehead. "You taught me that happiness grows when we share it." Lyra closed her eyes and sighed with contentment. "Thank you for giving me a home and a choice." Eric took her hand. "Thank you for teaching me new worlds and new songs." In the weeks that followed, Eric and Lyra continued their work. They organized reading nights, teaching Celeron stories and Earth Tales. They built a small library corner in the town hall, filled with books from both worlds. Colonists came to read and swap stories, learning from each other. One day, a new companion arrived at the colony, a gentle alien with soft green scales named Myra. She looked nervous and shy. Eric and Lyra welcomed her warmly. Lyra held Myra's hand and led her into their home. She showed Myra around, introduced her to neighbors, and offered her a place in the garden team. Myra smiled with relief. Eric watched as Lyra's kindness worked its magic again. He realized their journey was only beginning. The colony was changing, one companion at a time. As the sun set over the fields, Eric and Lyra stood together, looking at the line of blue and gold light on the horizon. They held hands, knowing they had built something lasting. A home, a community, and a friendship that crossed the stars. In that gentle moment, both felt truly content, ready for the next chapter of their shared life.